The vast majority of subscribers to this channel have petitioned and have said that I should be carrying once in a while. We should have videos that are not politics, but have to do with something that affects Kenyans. Yeah, social relationships, etc., etc. And especially relationships. And so in this video, we're going to deal with a very major issue that affects virtually all of us. Okay? And this is the issue of mother-in-laws. Or shall we call them monsters-in-law? Yeah. Now I consider myself very lucky because of my Kikuyu mother-in-law. If all mother-in-laws were like this, we would not even be discussing this. Okay? Let me just give you a few examples. There were times at the beginning of the marriage when we were going through some very tough times. Yeah? So she went to the market with her very limited funds and bought, cabbages, skuma, potatoes, oranges, and put all of them in a kiondo. Yeah? And came all the way to her house to deliver it. Oh, I heard you people are going through some difficulties, so I decided at least the children should not go without food. So I brought you something small. Please accept it. Don't worry, this is life. Things, people always start like this. And later on, things will definitely change. Now, I'm a very emotional person, and that one just brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, here's an old woman. Yeah, she has no job. She has no income. Yeah, she has a small project which yields a bit of income here and there. And she's sacrificing that to think of us. And we're not the only ones. She has many other children. She has many other married daughters and sons. It just touched me. Another incident. On the day of dowry payment, she was very reluctant. She said, no, there's no hurry with this thing. Yeah? Make sure the children have gone to school. Make sure there's enough school fees. We can always do this thing later. It has no hurry. That is a mother-in-law talking. Hey, I have no words. Now, I have a lot of friends on this channel who always say all Kikuyus are evil, Kikuyus are bad people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? But I think this is a case in point which tells us very clearly it is not good to profile an entire community. People are different. Individuals are different. And by the way, my mother-in-law happens to come from Kiambu. Yeah, those who understand Kikuyu geography, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is widely believed that the most evil women come from Kiambu. Yeah, there's even stories of women who kill their husbands for money, poison them, yeah, so that they take over the wealth. All those are Kiambu women. Yeah, so it is never a good idea to profile. Yeah, it's never a good idea. But let me not get carried away into politics. I promise this is not about politics. Now, with that kind of background, let's look into two amazing stories of monsters-in-law. Okay, not mother-in-laws, monsters-in-law. Very sad stories. There's this mother-in-law who brought up her son under very difficult circumstances. Something happened to the dad. The dad was not able to put food on the table. So this mother-in-law struggled and put her child through school. And as you know, in the village they talk. Yeah, some of the talk in the village was that in order to take her child to school, sometimes she would be forced to sell certain personal assets in order to get money. In other words, a certain man had money and she wanted that money. She would go to the man and tell the man, I need so much money. And I have this asset, and she would sell herself to the man. Yeah, have sex with the man in exchange for money. Now, finally, this son of hers reached university. Yeah, through all those difficulties. Now, you know they say that a man usually marries his mother. Yeah, in the sense that the woman he'll end up marrying in his life is usually very, very similar to their mother. Yeah, so in this case at university, this guy met a girl who was just devoted to him. And she had no issues working and giving him the money to survive through campus and to get things here and there. And so the man finished university and the two got married and they had kids. But meanwhile, the man's mother-in-law is still very much in the picture. Of course, she had sacrificed her whole life to see this young man through school. And of course, the man had prospered. Yeah, he was fully a professional in his field. And he was earning a lot of money. Money was no longer an issue in that family. But in the background, a very vicious struggle was going on. This vicious struggle was between the mother and the wife. The mother felt that the son did not love her anymore because of this other woman who had come into his life. All his attention, all his affections were going to the wife. The wife who just came into the picture just the other day, and yet she had struggled with this son from the day she gave birth to him. And there are various things which happened, and most of the times the mother felt that the wife had won those battles over her. So she came up with a scheme, a very evil scheme, that she wanted to use to finish her daughter-in-law and to finish her son's wife once and for all. Yeah, to get her to pack her bags and go back where she came from. And remember, they have children. Yeah, anyway. So one day, the guy comes from his usual drink in the evening, and the maid opens the gate for him. He drives into the compound, and then the maid also serves him food. Okay? By the way, wives, not a good idea. Maid serving husband food, so many things can go wrong. But that's a topic for another day. And so the man sits down to eat. And before he puts the first spoon in his mouth, the maid starts crying. Yeah? And she starts saying in the vernacular, "Don't eat that food." But she's not telling him why. She's just crying. So after a while, the maid manages to blurt out that actually the food is poisoned, and it's wife who has put the poison inside the food. The man, of course, is drunk. Yeah? You know, when you're drunk, you're not 100% functional. It doesn't matter how you handle alcohol. Yeah? But when you get drunk, you're not 100% functional. It's just life. It's the truth. So he goes and wakes up his wife, who's very annoyed. She doesn't like being woken up. Yeah? And tells the wife, "This maid is telling me nonsense. She says that there's some poison in my food. And, why don't you just come and test it, and we clear up this thing?" Now, to cut a very long story short, what happens is that this issue escalates into a full-blown quarrel between the husband and the wife. The wife is very irritated that she can actually be woken up because the maid has challenged her. How does a maid challenge a wife? Yeah, she's also irritated that this man does not trust her, that he can have an inkling of no trust in her, yeah, by asking her to taste the food. The man, because he's involved in an engineering profession, you know, engineering is logic. So he decides, why don't we just logically solve this thing step by step, the way I solve my engineering problems? Yeah, she says there's poison in the food. Let my wife taste it to prove there's no poison. No issue. Yeah, he's thinking mathematically. He's thinking in the engineering way. The wife is just, she has no words. She cannot believe that a maid can actually challenge her in her own house. So what happens in the end is that in the dead of the night, this man packs all the belongings of his dear wife, and they drive through the night to Moranga, her home, and the man dumps her there with all her belongings and says that, tells the parents that I have returned your daughter. I don't even need a refund of the dowry. According to African custom, I'm done with her. Now, there are stories that we can classify as stranger than fiction, and this one is one of them. Yeah, it really happened. I know the individuals, okay, very well. Some of you listening to this recording will know the individuals involved in this very harrowing tale of monsters-in-law. Yeah, and that was it. The man remarried. End of story. Now, of course, the people who suffered most, as usual, were the children. Yeah, and of course, they grew up as very dysfunctional human beings. Yeah, I don't even want to tell you what they're doing now, but you can think the worst, the worst of the worst. Yeah, that is how a mother-in-law messed up a family. In the end, she won. Now, before I go to the second story, I need to tell you something. Okay, if in case you're a wife and you're involved with a battle with your mother-in-law, you need to know something. No matter how much your husband loves you, you can never win. You're competing with a woman who knows your man inside out. She gave birth to him. She changed his napkins when he was young. She knows all his habits. She knows his likes and dislikes. She knows his character inside out. And you just met the man when he had all his teeth. When he was already grown up. No matter how close you are, there are things about your man you'll never know that your mother-in-law knows. Let me just leave it at that. Now, in the next episode of this series, I'll give you an even sadder story. Okay? So make sure you catch it. A shortcut to it is to click on the link on your top left-hand corner. Yeah, and you'll be on to it straight away. This is Kshs Kumekucha.